أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يريدون أن يطفئوا نور الله بأفواههم والله متم نوره ولو كره الكافرون صدق الله العظيم. My dear respected elders and brothers, if we were to look at events in the world today, it leaves us in no doubt whatsoever. Muslims and Islam are being made a target of sexual abuse and persecution. After the fall of communism, the Western world, led by America, have regarded and seen Islam and the Muslims to be the greatest threat in their dominance of world affairs and their hegemony over the world. In other words, Islam and Muslims are the greatest threat to their extensionist frenzy. It is against this background that they have made Islam and the Muslims a special target for abuse, persecution, and in fact extermination. The facts are quite clear and evident. Let us briefly look at two examples. In Somalia, the United States or the Western powers have not invaded to help and feed the poor people of that land. In fact, self-hypocrisy makes one's stomach turn upside down. The reason why they have invaded is to destabilize the neighboring Islamic government of them, and they were getting worried and perturbed by the growing Islamic movement emerging from Somalia. This had to be stopped. This had to be prevented, otherwise the US puppets in the region would have been dead. In Iraq, for example, although the President Saddam has no human rights record to be proud of, or is no angel, but yet whenever the United States wants to present a macho image to the world, or whenever a United States President wants to bolster his falling popularity, the Iraqi Muslims are being targeted and they are being killed. And yet it's surprisingly that the target of the attack, Saddam or the elite, is never effective. It is always the innocent Muslims who are killed and massacred. And while they are so trigger-happy when Muslims are concerned, they are surprisingly, or not so surprisingly, not only silent, but subtly and not so subtly, encouraging and helping in the destruction and whenever Muslims are targeted for abuse and persecution. In Palestine, for example, where the ruthless Israeli government and regime has completely disregarded all human rights values and dignity. On one hand, deporting people from the land of birth, putting them in no man's land in a area which is completely frozen and cold, and on the other hand, a systematic method of repressing and annihilating and exterminating the Muslims of Palestine. And this has been going on for 40 years. And despite there being over 600 United Nations resolutions against Israel, not one did the UN or the United States ever try to force Israel to comply with the resolution. As has been done in Libya, as has been done in Iraq, as has been done in Somalia, and as has been done in Bosnia. Coincidentally, all countries where Muslims are involved. In Kashmir, where the oppression of the Indian regime has reached new heights, instead of castigating the Indian government for oppression, the United States threatened Pakistan to declare it a terrorist. And the reason being because they are in a small way helping the Muslims. Instead of going at the root of the problem where they are oppressing the Muslims, they do nothing. They threaten the Muslims of Pakistan to declare it a terrorist state because they are helping the Muslims. And then furthermore we can give more examples. But maybe no more is this more pronounced than in Bosnia, where for over a year now, an unprecedented genocide has been carried out against the Muslims of Israel. In fact, one wonders, has ever human rights more savagely attacked in the modern era the way that is done in Bosnia. And here also, the United States and the Western world have been surprisingly, or not so surprisingly, completely inactive. And the reason why they have been inactive is, here again, because it is Muslims who are concerned. Therefore, we find, firstly, that an armed embargo has been implemented in that region. Whereas it is well known that the armed embargo is hurting no one. The Croatian and the Serbians had arms in the past, they have arms in the present. The armed embargo has been specifically implemented to harm the Muslims of Bosnia. They must not be able to harm themselves and prevent themselves from being killed and massacred by the Muslims. And then furthermore, the main reason why they have been made a target for genocide and killing is because the Western world cannot stand a Muslim state, an Islamic state in the heart of Europe. And they have been quite open in making mention of this. In the time of the 24th issue, a mention has been made of a certain officer who made it very clear that the reason why we are fighting is we cannot stand a fundamentalist state in the heart of Europe. The article goes on to say in the Times that Douglas Hogg, the British Minister of State, was sent by the British Prime Minister to go and tell the President of Bosnia, do not wait for any international force, there is no cavalry coming over the hill. The French President also goes with the same message to the Bosnian President. And the thing, they don't need to go and tell the Bosnian President of it. It is quite clear and evident they are not going to help. But the reason why they go and pass on this message is that the Bosnian Muslims must be forced to accept a negotiated settlement in which they are completely displaced and there is no viable Muslim state in the heart of it. This is a clear thing. Then furthermore, we can take it further also. It has been said by the Western world and the media constantly propagating that democracy is epitomized by the Western media to be the ideal of the 90s. Yes, when the Muslims of Algeria overwhelmingly and democratically, they elect a Muslim leadership and they give it the go-ahead to implement Quran and the Sunnah as part of their state, then all of a sudden, democracy is no more now regarded as an ideal. It's stuck in the throat of the Western powers, and it is now regarded, it is felt as subversive. One can continue on giving examples of the future. Then furthermore, we look at it further. The propaganda of the media is one of the most effective methods which is used by Western imperialism and by Western nations. We find audio, visual, and printed media against Islam is constantly on the news. And all the time through the means of the media, the people of the Western world are constantly being reminded of the so-called impending dangers of fundamentalism. Recently we had the Newsweek, which had in its cover story, usually boldly printed, should the world be afraid of Islam? The Times, 2 weeks later, have a similar Deen article in a cover story, should the world be afraid of Islam? And although fundamentalism is, if you look at it, something which is noble, in that it refers to someone who is committed to Islam. It has been made a dirty word in the Western media. And they are constantly warning people with regard to the impending danger of fundamentalism. Yes, the same so-called media are completely silent. There is no screaming headlines when democracy is interfered with in Algeria, when thousands of Muslims are massacred in Burma, where there is a systematic extermination of Muslims in Palestine, and where there is a sustained repression in Kashmir. Do we find those screaming headlines? We get to come up with the answer. And that is no, it is not screaming. In short, it is very clear from this is a threat against Islam from all sides. And this is quite clear and evident. Wherever there is Islam and Muslims, subdue to bondage. Wherever there is kufr, strengthen them, that they could also be part of the anti-Islamic alliance. Now, I do not want to make mention of going further, I can give much more examples. There is few things that you must take lessons and note of. Firstly, it is not surprising entirety. Because these things have been prophesied, the reason behind it, and the solution of it has been prophesied by our beloved Nabi Kareem Sallallahu centuries ago. Hazrat Tawban radiallahu narrates the hadith of Nabi Kareem Sallallahu said, a time will come when the nations of the world, Nabi Sallallahu didn't make mention of a particular nation, but Nabi Sallallahu said the nations of the world would gather around Muslims to harm and destroy them, the way people gather around for food on the table. So then the Sahaba were perturbed and they said, Ya Rasulullah, will we be little in number at that time that they will gather around us to destroy us? So the Nabi Sallallahu replied, no. But antum yawma idin kathir, on that day you will be dropped in abundance, and as far as numbers is concerned. But you will be insignificant, kahuta is the way the scum is on top of the flood. When flood water scum, the little foam and scum that comes on top of the flood, it has no power of its own. It is swept aside by the flood water. Said our beloved Nabi Sallallahu, you will become so insignificant. So the Sahaba asked, Ya Rasulullah, what is the reason for us being so insignificant in the world? And the Nabi Sallallahu replied, excessive love for the material world is just like a death. The Nabi Sallallahu prophesied to the ummah and that the nations of the world will gather around you to destroy you. And the reason and the solution of the Nabi Sallallahu is being mentioned. Then secondly, for us to expect otherwise, or to try and appease the American or the Western world is naive in the extreme. The Quran tells us, وَلَنْ تَرْضَى عَنْكَ الْيَهُودُ وَلَنْ نَصَارَى حَتَّى تَتَّبِعَ مِلَّتَهُمْ. The Yahud and the Nasara will never be pleased. You can never appease them until you follow their religion and they will not. You are not prepared to do that. So you will never be able to appease them. And it is naive to expect otherwise from them. Then secondly, the aims, the objectives, the goals of Islam are completely opposed to what they believe. Completely opposed to their aims, objectives and goals. So they are fulfilling the evil urges. They are fulfilling the evil urges, acting as agents of Satan in employing this sinister method and plot against Islam. It is for us to become so strong that we can withstand those struggles and those problems. After all, we look at the time of Nabi Kareem Sallallahu, did not the people, did not the kuffar also employ such methods and sinister plots against Islam and the Muslims? Did they not try and kill Nabi Sallallahu on more than one occasion? Did they not gather all the Arab clans to come and attack Medina in the Battle of the Clans? Did they not, in the time of the Battle of Uhud, when Nabi Sallallahu when they were fighting against the kuffar, did they not try and come and harm the Muslim women? They did all that. But that time the Muslims were strong enough to withstand their thoughts. And we have become corrupted, we have become weak, we cannot withstand those thoughts. In fact, we are also to be blamed. We are also to be blamed. Therefore, our time is also coming to a close. I will give you a few concluding thoughts. One of them is, we in this country are also part of the Ummah Islam. We are also not immune to the global threat and the global onslaught against Islam and Muslims. We are also not immune to that. Especially because of some sort of profile we have placed in certain sectors of the Muslim world. In Somalia or wherever there is a problem, the Muslim of South Africa has played some part. So we are not immune to this. What we really got to ask ourselves is this: how is behaving in our day-to-day life as people who are under threat? Are we really behaving as people who are under threat? Are we in any way activating our energy? Are we in any way coming closer towards Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as we are supposed to bring in the help of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Or are we continuing in our ways? We only need to go and look at the time of Fajr, how many Muslims come to us and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for help. Are we still continuing our own ways as a matter of routine, being completely not worried and immune as if nothing will ever happen to us? Or are we completely continuing our routine manner? And do not tell us to come closer to Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do not tell us not to go to Sun City. Let us spend our wealth extravagantly the way we wish to. We must answer this question. Are we really acting in our daily life as part of the Ummah, which must understand. And secondly, I would like to give you a little because our Ustad, Mufti Ahmad Rahman, Rahmatullah alayhi, always used to make mention that the Western world and the Kuffar are afraid of Islam. And we used to think when we were in class, can it be possible? When you look at the way evidence is, and when you look at the things, what are they going to be afraid of? Especially when the Muslims are in this area. The Ummah is disunited. The Ummah is disjointed. The greatest strength the Ummah has always had was to bring the help of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with them when they are with impunity violating the laws of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he used to tell us this. He said that Kuffar in the Western world regard Islam as a sleeping lion. Someone who does not realize his potential. And now when you think of it, look at the situation today. Despite us, and maybe I might be wrong, but I think that as far as practical commitment to Islam is concerned, we are maybe perhaps at the lowest ever in the history of Islam. I think never ever has the Ummah been so practically uncommitted to Islam the way it is in present. Presently uncommitted to Islam, maybe in the history of Islam, maybe we never had a Islam. I mean, we can see maybe 95 or maybe 99% of the people today do not perform the most fundamental tenets and the most basic and most important ritual and practice of Islam. Maybe we are, maybe I might be wrong, but I think that maybe we are at the lowest as far as practical commitment to Islam is concerned. Yes, in this stage we are regarded as the threat by the Western world of the Kuffar. What will be the stage of the world if we were to become proper Muslims and practically committed to Islam? When at this stage we are threat, if we were to really turn towards Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and if we really were to comply with the commands of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and take the glorious teaching of Islam to the people, what will be the situation of the world? My dear Ishaqar, as I said, this of teaching, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the process of understanding and in Amal. I will also say one thing. We can either listen to this, become shocked, outraged, and go back to our comfort zone. Or we can go back and ponder and think and reflect and then act as how Islam and the Quran tells us. وَأَعِدُّوا لَهُمْ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُم مِّن قُوَّةٍ. Prepare yourself with all the power that you have at your disposal. مِنْ رِبَاطِ الْخَيْرِ, with all the power and at your disposal. تُرْهِبُونَ بِهِ عَدُوَّ اللَّهِ وَعَدُوَّكُمْ. That you could instill fear in the heart of your enemies and the enemies of Islam. We can either do one of the things. We can either go back to our comfort zone, express rage and condemnation and shock over what is happening and go back to our comfort zone, or we can start doing something in whatever way we feel set for what we say.